around 2012, and I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm in my GI fellowship, and I am single. And you can imagine, as a 32-year-old single guy, I am on a mission to get myself in the best shape physically possible. I want to attract someone, attractive. And so I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I'm not exaggerating. And you guys have done even more than this than me, but I was in the gym 30 to 45 minutes on the heavy weights, and then either jumping on the treadmill for 5 to 10K or jumping in the pool for 100 laps. And I was doing that 6 days a week, and I'm not exaggerating. And I could put on muscle. I could not lose weight. And so I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? What's with the puffiness? And I met the person who now is my wife. And I had never been around someone like this before. We would go out to the best restaurants and you could get whatever you want. And she would ask them to just make a plate full of plants. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, you could get a pork chop, you could get a ribeye. What are you doing? And I would see her do this. And my wife, she could eat without restriction. Like, she was not cutting meals, cutting calories. She was doing none of that. And she looked absolutely incredible. And so it opened my eyes, like, how is she able to eat whatever she wants and maintain her body and the level of fitness when I'm over here working out like a madman? And it just led me down this path where I said, you know what, I'm just going to try this. I'm just going to try something. And so I started with a simple thing, a smoothie for dinner. That was it. Instead of stopping for fast food, I went home, bananas, berries, some greens, maybe some flax and chia. And that's what I did for dinner. And I felt instantly so much better. And then I noticed that my body was starting to change. And I kept running with it. And I went down that path. And along the way, you have to understand, I'm a doctor. I got a master's degree in clinical research from Northwestern. I didn't just do a gastroenterology fellowship at UNC. I did an epidemiology fellowship at UNC at the School of Public Health that's there, which is ranked number 2, tied with Harvard.
So you're a researcher is what you're saying.
I'm a science guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a science guy. And so the science has to be there. I won't take it if the science is not there. I'm just not going to. And so as I started to explore this, I asked the question, why have I not been taught this in my medical training? And I went to the literature and I didn't find a couple of dingy studies. I found thousands of high quality research studies that already exist that show the path to better health is already decided. It's already clear. The debate is manufactured. It's plants.
What was the research you came up? Was it Ornish's initial research that you stumbled upon, or what were the couple of those studies that you were just like, wow, this is a game changer?
Well, so let me put it this way. I started with books. Mm-hmm. And there were, I love Ornish's studies. You go back to his heart studies from the 90s, mm-hmm. and they're just like mind-blowing and amazing. And he just keeps sort of leveling up with doing that stuff. But to me, I read a couple of Joel Fuhrman books, mm-hmm. and that to me was a really powerful thing. And learning about sort of the nutritarian concepts.
What are those? What does that mean, nutritarian?
So maximizing nutritional density in your diet, mm-hmm. recognizing that everything comes with a cost. The cost is the calorie. So get as many nutrients per calorie as possible. I was eating the opposite of this. I was going low nutrient, high calorie. And this helped me to open my mind to the idea of going high nutrient, low calorie, which is plants. Mm-hmm. And so I read Fuhrman's book, and then I started to look at the science in my field, gastroenterology. And there were studies that were coming out, and I'm happy to tell you about the one that really changed the game for me, which was 2014, January of 2014.
Please.
And it's a study published in literally the #1 medical journal in the world. Okay, if we find the cure for cancer tomorrow, this is the journal that it's going into. It's in Nature, The lead author was Lawrence David, and Peter Turnbull, who's one of the other world's leading microbiome researchers, was on this study. So January 2014. And here's what they did. They took a group of people and they wanted to see, this was not like meant to be any dietary preference. This was asking the question, can you change a human being's microbiome with diet? Now, what they had shown in animal model studies a bazillion times that this was possible. But we're more complicated, so you have to show it in humans. So what they did is they took the complete polar opposite extreme diets, and they put the same people on those two diets, and they monitored their microbiome day by day. So what did they do? 100% whole foods, plant-based diet, and they compared that to 100% meat, eggs, and dairy. And here's what happened.
And those people were not eating any fiber because they were literally only eating meat, eggs, and dairy, not with like a side of broccoli, just animal foods.
You could call it a carnivore diet.
Okay.
This was before the carnivore diet existed.
Right.
You could call it a keto diet in a lot of ways because the fat profile fits. Mm-hmm. It's ultra low carb. But no, they were not consuming any fiber. It was 100% animal products. All right. And these people agreed to do this study. And they went on 5 days of each one of these diets. And then there was a break in between to wash out and allow it to return to normal. So here's what happens. Day 1, the microbiome changes.
In each cohort.
Yes. Mm. Day 1, the microbiome changes. Mm. What that means is that our diet forms our microbiome. Mm-hmm. That the food that you eat today is already having an effect on your microbiome. And we can break down why that is in more detail if you want to. But
well, first, I'd like to make sure that our audience understands what the microbiome is after you explain this study.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And so day 1, the microbiome changes. And each day you see further drifting towards a certain specific pattern associated with these diets. So what do you see in the person who eats the 100% whole foods plant-based diet? You see the emergence of what are universally described as microbiome scientists as anti-inflammatory microbes. They have a unique power, which is that they release something called short-chain fatty acids. We'll talk more about those, but suffice it to say, these are anti-inflammatory molecules that are like scrubbing your body clean throughout the entire body, all the way to your brain. Okay, so you see this pattern in the diet that's on the completely plant-based diet. Flip side, you go on the completely animal product diet. Okay, in just 5 days, disturbing changes. You see the emergence of what are described as bile-tolerant microbes. One in particular, Bilophila wadsworthia, has been strongly associated with the development of inflammatory bowel disease. What does that mean? In 5 days, you haven't just changed your microbiome. You have laid the foundation for inflammatory bowel. It's not going to happen in 5 days, but you're setting yourself up for this to happen. Mm-hmm. The other things that they saw are that there was actually, believe it or not, in the animal product diet, there was resistance, antibiotic resistance of the microbiome. Why would that be? Why would you have antibiotic resistance by just eating food? Because we know that antibiotics are given to those animals. And so that diet is having a negative effect on your ability to fight off an infection because it's breeding antibiotic resistance. So what we see in just 5 days of this diet are radical changes based upon your choice, one side or the other. One is completely universally accepted as good, and the other is universally accepted as bad. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, it's all making sense because it all starts in the gut.
Hey, folks. Okay, back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review and zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.